Hey guys, JamesMCD Reviews here. Welcome to another TV log. And this TV log has been way too many years in the making because today we're going to be talking about DEADMAN WONDERLAND. This is an anime series released in 2011 based on the manga of the same name, and I bought the complete series Blu-ray for this show several years ago. Pretty sure I was still in high school when I bought this, and whenever I would, bike or skateboard home from school at the time, I would stop into places like Walmart and Target to look around, and this was also when I was just starting to get into buying movies and shows on Blu-ray. I also really wanted to get into anime at the time, and I saw this on the shelf, and the title and cover, grabbed my attention, so I got it. Now, for those of you who have been watching for a long time, you know that I am infamously bad at watching, or at the very least finishing, new TV shows. It's honestly a miracle that I've even still been able to post TV logs, as many as I have. But if you needed any more indication that I just flat out suck at watching TV shows, I have tried to finish this fucking series on 4 separate occasions. Usually what ends up happening is I'll get through the first couple episodes and then something always comes up, or I just kind of forget and then I never come back to it. You can grow me in the comments if you want. I know I suck, but I figured this year, almost 15 years after it has ended, would be the year that I finally finished DEADMAN WONDERLAND. So was it worth it? Not really. Ganta is the only survivor after a mysterious man in red slaughters a classroom full of teenagers. He's framed for the carnage, sentenced to die, and locked away in the most twisted prison ever built, DEADMAN WONDERLAND. And then it gets worse. That is the official Letterboxd synopsis for the show, and I appreciate the honesty about letting you know that it goes downhill after the first few episodes. Now, I'll admit straight up that I haven't read the manga this is based on, so I have nothing to compare it to. I did read up a bunch of stuff after finishing the show that points to the manga being better, but even if I hadn't done that, I could have probably piece that together. Also, if you're a fan of the show, I'm not trying to take that away from you either. And there is admittedly a lot of stuff to like about it. The animation, for the most part, is pretty good. The environments are very fleshed out. The action scenes are well shot, and the gore is pretty juicy. Never quite Edge Runner or Chainsaw Man levels of intense, but still pretty graphic. The show is very adult, and I say adult in quotes because a lot of it relies on excess and edge. But for the tone they're trying to go for, it works. But a lot of times it just feels like baby's first intro to edginess. That theme song is a banger though, and I've been humming it since I finished the show. And on the surface, the starting point isn't that bad an idea. Having someone trapped in a prison that doubles as an amusement park and having to compete in death games in front of people who don't realize how horrific it actually is, and he has to survive in order to clear his name, that alone is really interesting. And in fact, the first 2 to 3 episodes were pretty solid. But as it went on, it was just kind of losing me more and more. Like I said, I haven't read the manga, so I don't have anything to compare it to, even though I know things have been cut out or condensed. But even taking the manga out of the equation, you can tell that aspects of the show's story are very rushed and undercooked. There are so many interesting ideas that they try to introduce, but they don't really give them time to be properly fleshed out. One minute you think it's about this kid who has to fight to clear his name, but then it just switches gears into this underground prison resistance trying to escape. There are so many mysteries and reveals that they're trying to build up with certain characters, but the build-up isn't really there, and the impact is pretty much non-existent because they don't give you any time to care about anyone or anything. Several characters just disappear from the story in the later half, and the ones that are there throughout the whole thing are very one note. Ganta's entire character is just crying and screaming. Like I said, in those first couple episodes, they make you feel a little bit bad for him, even though they don't really showcase much of him and his school friends, so you don't get a feel for their relationship. And the sequence itself leading up to their deaths is just textbook emotional manipulation. It's the friendship equivalent of, yep, just 2 days to retirement. But like I said, at first you feel bad for him and you want to see him survive, but after a while, he starts to become very annoying. Shiro is meant to be set up as this mysterious character, but her bubbly nature wears really thin really quickly. There's a reveal about her character and her connection to Ganta, but it just leaves no impression because it wasn't really given time to breathe and develop. Like I said, there are several characters that just straight up disappear. Like Yo, who becomes friends with Ganta purely so he can keep tabs on him for the organization. There's a revelation involving him and his sister that goes nowhere. The warden and the lawyer who run the prison seem like they're going to be important characters, but they just disappear for most of the second half. The only one that gets any significant development is Crow, one of Ganta's opponents in the Carnival Corpse arena. But a lot of that comes from a prequel OVA set before the main series. But like I was getting at before, the biggest problem with this show is that the story tries to cram in so many plot points and twists and turns, and none of them really leave any impression because they weren't fleshed out properly. The final battle with the main villain is kind of an anticlimactic nothing burger. The villains themselves are very one note, and the show ends on a cliffhanger that will never be resolved because the studio that made it went bankrupt. Who knows, maybe they could have improved on a lot of the problems in a second season, or went back and developed some of the characters that they just neglected. But the fact is, they just didn't get me to care enough one way or the other. Like I said, the show isn't horrendous or anything, and there are some things about it that I do like. It just kind of flounders after the first few episodes. But again, if you like the show, continue to like it. Don't let me take that away from you. I'm just more so relieved that I finally finished the show, so it's not sitting on my DVD shelf unwatched anymore. But yeah, going to my ranking for Deadman Wonderland, the show itself gets a 2.5, but the OVA, The Red Knife Wielder, gets a 3 out of 5. And that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, did you watch Deadman Wonderland? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you recommend that I read the manga? And what are some other anime series that you would recommend that I check out and cover for a video? Let me know all that stuff down below. I've got more videos coming real soon, but until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay updated when I'm posting. Follow me on my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.